You're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jane Abasonko, joined by my amazing co-host Ibrahim Abalde, who seems lazy today. He said he's lazy. It's a lazy Thursday for him.
Yeah, it is, and you know, due to the
climate
and of course, you know, sometimes fatigue.
Fatigue.
Yes, yeah. It's natural and it's normal.
It's normal, and we must say to our viewers that today he's going to be with us for the whole of the program. Unlike yesterday when he was called away.
Yeah.
I went to attend to a very important call. So
don't even go there.
You know, very important.
He'd better not go there.
Yes. So you guys, as you can see, today I decided to do some form of rich auntie vibes.
Yeah.
Don't I look rich auntie?
You look seriously rich auntie vibes. In fact, you're
right
gonna people be calling you Auntie J.
Auntie J, rich auntie. So this outfit is provided by B&K. Okay, so she's a young Gambian doing extremely well, you know, providing all these amazing fabrics, you know, showing it and, you know, just selling it.
Does she do stuff for men as well?
She does stuff for men, like nice stuff.
Balde, I hope you heard that.
Balde, you have to patronize her. She's doing really well.
Well, I mean, she will first have to get me something to wear
like
on the program. If she does and people appreciate it, then we start.
She actually gave me free outfits, 4.
That's beautiful. That's kind of
I think we'll make do with 2 each.
Yeah, that's amazing. But first, let it come first so that
and then later you can patronize
absolutely.
her. I think young people are doing really well. Just yesterday we were taking a look at World Youth Skills Day.
I watched your program, Youth Dialogue.
Yeah.
Very inspiring. Very inspiring stuff. Lots of young people doing great things.
Great things. So it was one of my favorites yesterday.
It was good. It was a really good program.
Concept.
And if anybody missed it, they can still catch it on YouTube.
They can still catch it up. We had robotics, we had tailoring, photography, we also had singing. I thought singing was just a talent, but later, hey, singing is a skill too. You know, it goes side by side.
Indeed.
So we decided to have that nice combination. Yes, so as usual, today we have the African proverb, we have the newspaper review, our guest is already here. And on Community Watch today, we'll be taking a look at a very interesting topic, farming season in the provinces. You know, we'll be calling our regional correspondents in LRR, CRR, and NBR. You know, when the rainy season just started, everybody was like, oh, we're going to have heavy rains. Everybody was excited about it. But we now see that it's taking a different trend. It's kind of irregular as to the way it's coming. So it might really affect the farming pattern.
Yes, it might, highly irregular. And for anybody living in the Greater Banjul area, I think since I moved here 3.5 years ago, this is the least amount of rain we've had by this time.
Yeah, and it's July.
You know, July
is ending.
July is almost ending.
Yeah.
And we've had very little rain. So it's been very surprising.
Yeah, it's been surprising. It's been surprising. But yeah, so we'll get to call them for them. You know, we just want to hear from the horse's mouth for them to just tell us what's happening and how it's affecting them, and do they have alternative means, because that's what we talk about all the time, having contingency plans where if this doesn't work, then can we depend on irrigation? I'm not sure about that. You know, within this period, just to
I mean, I don't know if there will be a way of doing irrigation farming or something, because I mean, most of the people up country, they depend on rain, so it would be very difficult, although it is good. I mean, if they have
but the reason why I'm bringing in this is because it's harder to use irrigation when it's not rainy season, because there's no amount of rain supporting the already existing efforts that you're putting in. But in this instant, even if it's not like an structured irrigation, there are other forms that you can use that we are aware of, and then the existing small rain can then complement whatever. That's what I'm trying to put across.
And it can be quite amazing if you go to certain countries. In Cape Verde, for example, there are at least 3 islands where it rains, and there are 3 islands that have not had any rain for 3 years at all. I mean, there's quite spread out. The islands are quite spread out. So on the island of Santantao, so that's the ones that have had the rain end up being the ones where they grow all the crops that then feed the rest of the nation. But there are islands where it looks like complete desert. They've not had any rain for 3 years.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So people who do not want rain can have the option of moving there. You know, you have options. So on social issues today, if you are a keen follower of social media or following the OIC social media platforms, you can actually see that currently there's a little controversy ongoing when it comes to the Radisson Blue Banjul Hotel that has to be launched on the 23rd. You know, there's this particular email circulating trying to say that there's no contract that actually exists between, you know, Radisson Blu as well as the Gambia. Sure. So we'll be joined by Ami Bojang-Sissoho, Director of Press, PR Office of the President, as well as Fali Federe, Head of Branding and Communication, OIC, to actually tell us where this email is coming from. I saw a press release is already out to actually say it's bogus and fake. To
rebut that one.
To rebut that. Yeah, so if it's bogus and fake, you know, I do not see a reason why an individual should do that. You know, sometimes why is it that whatever happens, there's always some form of negativity that we always attach to development? I don't get it.
I had to blast somebody the other day because they were trying to make this whole OIC thing a kind of strictly party political issue. Yeah. And I said, no, I said, this is developmental for the Gambia. And if it succeeds and it's completed to the spec of all the projects, it will change the Gambia.
Right.
And if you are a genuine Gambian, you should be wishing for that. Not saying, you know, this is party political. It's got nothing to do with party politics. You know, when the roads are made, it's not people of only one party who are going to be driving on that road. If the hotel is built, the people who are employed are not just going to belong to one political party. So people need to get that, change that mindset really, and think more in terms of, you know, let's support things that are developmental for the country.
Yeah. So Ibrahim, what is our African proverb?
Yeah, it reads, without your own cultural identity, you become anything that they tell you.
I keep insisting that we should always identify the African countries. I don't know which country that comes from, but it's true. But it holds true for virtually, and it's got to know who you are, know yourself. And so when you go somewhere, you carry your name, your culture, your traditions even with you, and then you can always be proud of who you are. I mean, I remember when I went to school in England, or even before I went to school in England, you know, people used to, I went to a Catholic school, and all the people had names after the saints like Pius and Paul and John and so on. And they used to say to me, oh, but you're called Adeyemi. And I'm like, I'm an African, I'm living in Africa. Yeah. You really think I'm going to be ashamed of having an African name? It's like, that's nonsense. Because when I went abroad, and I went to England, of course, similarly, a lot of the Africans they had met had non-African names. Even my brother is called John. And so they were like, why are you called Ade? You know, and so it gave me an opportunity to explain the origin of the name, that is a Yoruba name, what it meant, and so on. And so, you know, I was always very proud of, I knew myself, you know, they're not going to tell me, be this, be that. I already knew who I was.
Interesting. So yes, I mean, it's similar. It's telling you to believe in what you are. I mean, I think to be original, it's better than copying certain things from certain people. You know, most of the things that we face, I mean, most of the problems we face, it's because most people don't know where they are coming from. I mean, so it's like taking over many cultures. I mean, anything that comes, I mean, you are into it. So I think it's important for you to believe in yourself, focus in what you do. There's a Wolof proverb that says, "Bunekene danga bany lo don dang sigena nyao," or something. Which means, you understand? I cannot like do a direct translation.
Yeah, but I can't do a direct translation either. But it's kind of talking about so banyeking adon. If you do not accept who you are, the fafeka again say nyao. It's probably you're the ugliest in that particular tribe.
Or if you throw, like, I mean, the set of people that you belong to. If you go to another area, you will see these people. I mean, I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, but it's just as
so watch yes and the bottom for bottom. Wow. So but I mean, I wish you know what we're saying.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I know it's not really related, but you know, I'm kind of
but stick to the proverb.
I'm sticking to the proverb.
Without your own cultural identity.
It's just you've got your own cultural identity, but sometimes they're just some sort of cultural identities or cultural things that actually practices that exist in your culture that now due to technology you might have to leave them behind.
Yes.
Sometimes you have arguments with certain people as to cultures that exist in your own culture, and then they're like, are you not a Mandinka? Are you not a this? But then you'll be like, things are changing and I have to leave certain things behind. There are certain things that I can't represent at this point in my life, which existed, which was accepted at a point, but not anymore. It does not matter.
I can tell you in another country, something that existed in my lifetime that they don't do anymore is that in India, you can search this online, when a husband died, the wife was burned on the fire with the husband, if she was alive. But she would burn with the dead husband.
Exactly.
And that happened on even in my lifetime. That was still happening. It's now been banned,
abolished,
but in some tiny villages, it still goes on.
Well, I mean,
it's just like telling me that I'm a Mandinka and I have to accept female genital mutilation.
No, I know
the Mandinka culture.
Yes, I mean, Jennifer is right. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to follow certain things in your culture. Not everything. Yes, not everything. But it's also important at least to reflect on other things.
It's important to reflect.
Culture teaches you certain things. You understand? How to live in a society. It teaches you how to be disciplined. It teaches you how to, I mean, respect your elders. You understand? But certain things are there. When you look at them, you will know, I mean, these are not even necessary.
For example, I had an argument with a friend of mine. You know, the friend said, this is about cultural identity. The friend said, because this is my surname, I'm talking about modern day, just a few months ago. This particular friend said, this is my surname, so I can't marry. That person is still the concept, and this person's educated. I'm not talking about a person uneducated. This is an uneducated individual, boldly, Mr. Ade, telling me that because her surname is this, they are kings and queens, she can marry whatever.
You don't even have to go far. One of my very, very best friends, we went to school together. He's much more educated than me. He's a PhD holder. And I was at his house, and we were joking, and he said to me, if my daughter came home and told me she was going to marry a Timney man, I would kill her myself. I laughed. And he said, I'm not joking. And he wasn't joking.
Yeah, look at that.
I was like, what do you mean?
In modern times.
This day and age. Well, my very, very good friend, you know, and I was shocked.
Yeah, and it's still happening.
But it happens. But, you know, to go back to the proverb, I think knowing your cultural identity is important. But you're right, again, to say that don't be handcuffed to every single thing that relates to that, because there are big things that you disagree with.
People don't have time for something.
Why should you go along with that if you disagree with it?
True. Yeah, so without your own cultural identity, you become anything that they tell you. So from that, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll head right on to the newspaper review. We will be right back.
Check out the all-new Tigo App at S-Pass Motors. Call 3522-222 or 353-2222 for more information. Cherry.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV This Morning, and I am Jana Bosonko. So, Ibrahima, we now head right on to the
newspaper review. Yes, I mean, this is the Fourier and some of the headlines read. NAWEC power supply fluctuation continues to disrupt businesses' workshops. And of course, Gambia celebrates World Population Day. We have Yaya Jammeh's authoritarian mechanization used prison to instill fear, inflict punishment. And of course, anger over demolished Salaji market regarding land allocated to NAWEC. Fonyi Jaro lawmaker tasked President Barrow to investigate GLMA Central Abattoir. And on the editorial, we have migrant sentence in Morocco. What is price of blocking purchase of 250 bags of fertilizer by Pardon Wolof? That's what we have.
All right, so moving on. Here we have U.S. State Department's Trafficking in Persons Report 2022 ranks Gambia at Tier 2. And also EU Ambassador lays foundation stone for Gambia Police Force model stations. And government commits $7.5 million ahead of Commonwealth Games as well as Islamic Games. And apart from that, OIC Gambia says circulating Radisson Blue email bogus and fake. And Ghana's first outbreak of highly infectious Marburg virus declared.
And not only that, just before I came on air, it was announced that 2 people have died from that in Ghana. So it's obviously, and it's quite serious, it's deadly. So,
there needs to be some regulations again.
Sure.
Yeah, but moving on, the U.S. State Department's trafficking in persons report ranks Gambia at Tier 2 watch list. So Tier 2...
Were we not Tier 2 last time?
No, no.
Yeah, I think we were.
We were Tier 2, but previous year we weren't. We weren't.
Have a check.
Yeah,
because I was going to read up on it.
But I think the discussions we had here with the people that came on this program, they said we are still on Tier 2.
Yes, I think we're still on Tier 2.
Yeah, because still on Tier 2, right? Because it's talking about how 188 governments, including the Gambia, and the report ranks the Gambia to 2nd tier after assessing the country as not fully meeting the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking in persons set forth in the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, but making significant efforts to do so.
That's right. I mean, and similar thing was said the last time the report came out. And just recently, in the last couple of weeks, there have been 2 cases that I'm aware of. In fact, we wanted to feature them, but they said no because the police are investigating, immigration are investigating. They didn't want us to cover the cases. But they were both instances where young women and young girls had been trafficked from Sierra Leone to here. And in fact, one of our colleagues went to the Sierra Leone High Commission just on Monday, I think. And he went there on business, and he saw all these young girls sitting, and so he said to the High Commissioner, what's this all about? And the High Commissioner said, these are girls who have been trafficked, but they're now being taken back to Sierra Leone. So things are happening. I mean, those are just 2 small cases. Of course, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of instances that probably go undetected or uninvestigated. So it's a concern.
Yeah,
because it's so easy to do.
It's a big concern, especially in the Gambia. I mean, human trafficking. I mean, it's a thing that is very complicated.
It's become an industry as well.
To eradicate. I mean, at some point, even if you sensitize people, still people will embark on this journey. And the worst thing is, I mean, people will talk on social media and on television and the dangers of embarking on that route, but still, you will still see people going.
I mean, when December 2019, there was an incident when 61 people drowned off the coast of Mauritania. And 5 of the young men who were rescued, we brought them to our office here at QTV to interview them about it. And I said to them, and they had family members who were living abroad, pay $2,000 each for them to be taken on this boat, and then eventually somehow get round to Morocco and possibly cross into Europe. And so I said, well, I hope this has made you scared and thing. And they said, no, there's another boat going next week and we will be on it. And I was really shocked. So it has become this obsession where you have family members paying for people essentially to be trafficked. Your family members are being trafficked, and you talk about migrants being arrested in Morocco. These are people who've been taken in many instances. Either they've paid or somebody has paid for them to be gone. So it's really complex.
Something very important that's highlighted here, like that human trafficking is actually a shared problem. It's not just unique to African countries. It's citing how in the United States human trafficking cases have been reported in all 50 states, and some form of terrorism as well. So in spite of transparency with the goal of strengthening efforts at home and in partnership with other countries, the report contains a tier ranking and narrative of U.S. efforts to address human trafficking. Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., and I'm glad they mentioned that, because in the USA, you have a lot of these people who go and pick fruits and vegetables. And a lot of them come from Latin American countries. And a lot of them are trafficked into the USA to do this work. So they're under the radar. You don't even pay them through official means. You pay them money in hand. And sometimes you don't even pay them. Low wages. Because what are they going to do? They're not going to go and report you to the police. They'll be arrested.
And so it's a kind of modern slavery that ends up
yeah, we
place.
also saw how the issue of Mo Farah, how, you know,
very high profile.
Very high profile, was also trafficked,
sure.
you know, and here he is now, and he had to come out to kind of share his story with everybody else.
And there have been repercussions because the people who trafficked him are now being investigated by the police.
Yeah.
So, you know, he came out, he gave this TV interview, and he talked about the fact that, you know, I saw this thing, had my picture next to it, and it had Mohammed Farah, and the woman who took me said, this is, if anybody asks you, this is your name. And so, you know, so the story he had always told, that he came from Somalia, was ended up being bogus, you know. So that's been quite, had lots of repercussions now in the UK. Of course, he's a much loved figure. He's been knighted by the Queen, and he's very much what they call a national treasure. He's one of these people that people in Britain really love, you know, for his exploits, 4 gold medals, and so,
And, you know, he said something really, you know, sad when he said that, I do not know if that child, the real Mo Farah, is okay. Like the child
whose name
was there.
I stole, essentially,
and took the seat. You know, how is that, you know, child doing? Maybe the person's taken somewhere else, you know, you do not know. So trafficking, you know, very dangerous act, but also expensive to handle.
It's to investigate is complex.
Yeah, it's complex.
It's very complex.
Yep. So moving on, Ibrahima, do you have anything there? Any other thing?
You have 2 NAWEC stories,
yes, let's
you?
talk about NAWEC's power supply continues to fluctuate and it disrupt businesses and workshops. I mean, recently people complained a lot. I can, well, there is one guy who called me last week telling me the power fluctuates at his side. I mean, I think one of the sites. I mean, so...
You know, I'm laughing at this because yesterday our colleague Omar P. Jallo went to something which was about energy and so on. And there was a line he put in there. I had to take it out of his report. I said, I cannot, in all good conscience, allow you to have a sentence in this report claiming that NAWEC has improved electricity supply for all. I said, I am a direct victim every day